What's your assessment then of Theresa May's
Morning.
prospects for her deal? Do you think she has the numbers? Can she get her deal through?
Well, I think we showed on the motion passed on the 29th of January that, yes, Theresa May can assemble a majority. I think much will depend, obviously, on how discussions go in Brussels over the next few days between the Attorney General, the most senior law officer in the UK government, and members of the European Commission. It's pretty clear that the changes that need to be made, really, to what's called the backstop in the withdrawal agreement, which is just one part of the agreement, that would then persuade members of Parliament, a majority, to back the agreement. So, I think the next sort of 10 days to 2 weeks are going to be a pretty critical time in this. Yesterday's votes, although they were billed as being, sort of high noon, high stakes, actually turned out to be much less dramatic than people had expected.
Well, doesn't the PM's strategy seem to have worked out perfectly? I mean, initially she had the Remainers worried about the possibility of a no deal, and she brought them in line with her withdrawal agreement under that threat. Now she's got the ERG worried about the possibility of delay. She's brought them in line as well, and it looks like her agreement is going to go sailing through on March 12th.
Well, I wouldn't say that everybody's been brought into line until the votes are finally counted and people are actually in the division lobby. And I also wouldn't necessarily say that the agreement is going to go sailing through. I think any margin majority in the House of Commons will be very, very tight. But yes, it's undoubtedly true that I think people are certainly A, in the mood for compromise, and B, they are thinking about, well, here are the things I don't want to happen, whether that's a no-deal Brexit or a second referendum or an extension of Article 50. What do I need to do to make sure those things don't happen? And, Theresa May had to make a big concession this week in terms of sort of opening up the door, if you like, to an extension of Article 50 and potentially allowing the House of Commons to pass a motion to say they don't want a no deal to happen. And those are things that she will not have been comfortable doing. But at the end of the day, she is intensely pragmatic and knows that she needs to keep her government on the road to assemble that majority and get the agreement through. And I think there's every chance that will happen.
Nicky, you got to know your ERG colleagues a little better in recent months in crafting that Malthouse compromise that we talked about last time I was with you there on the Green.
Yeah.
Do you think that that is going to live on, or are we here talking about Geoffrey Cox getting some other kind of change to the backstop with regards to Ireland, just some time limits to it or some ability for the UK to leave unilaterally rather than anything to do with the Malthouse compromise?
Well, the bit of the Malthouse compromise, I think, that does very much work and actually has been recognised by the EU as being needed is what's called the alternative arrangements to the current draft of the backstop. Everybody wants to not have the insurance policy of a backstop needed to go into the future relationship. Everybody wants to avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland. And I think there is agreement that actually existing customs checks and processes could deliver that. But making those changes will take time, can't be done before the 29th of March. And that's why the EU and UK have agreed a joint work stream to make those alternative arrangements happen. And that's given reassurance to many MPs that actually the current backstop won't survive. But I think you're right to say that Geoffrey Cox is also exploring how the current backstop could, it can be sort of legally certain that it will not endure indefinitely. And that's one of the big concerns for MPs as well. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach, if you like. But the alternative arrangements on the border very definitely will be needed.